Okay, so let's talk about one of the most famous love stories of all time, the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. But I have a feeling there's a pretty big twist in here that you might not see coming.
You think you know this one, right? The story seems so simple on the surface. It's this tragic tale of love and loss, and it all hinges on one single fatal mistake. But you know what? That one moment, that one glance back over the shoulder, that's where our story really begins.
So, first things first, let's do a quick run-through of the version of the myth that we've all heard, the one that is echoed down through the centuries.
Picture this: Orpheus, the son of a muse, a musician so talented his songs could literally charm wild animals and make the trees dance. He falls in love with the beautiful nymph Eurydice. Their love story is perfect, until it isn't. On their wedding day, she's bitten by a venomous snake, and just like that, she's gone.
So, completely shattered, Orpheus does something absolutely nobody has ever dared to do. He takes his grief and his god-tier musical talent, and he does the impossible. He travels down into the land of the dead itself. He charms his way past everyone, the ferryman Chiron, the three-headed guard dog Cerberus. He even moves the cold hearts of Hades and Persephone, all to bring her back.
And he almost pulls it off. He gets their permission, but with one critical rule. He has to walk in front of her and not look back, not even a peek, until they are both completely out of the underworld and back in the sunlight. He's so close. Through all the darkness, he leads her back. But at the very last second, with the sun literally on his face, he gives in to his doubt. He turns, and he watches her fade away, back into the shadows, forever.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. What if I told you that even that original story was never just one single story? The myth itself is kind of like a moving target, changing a little bit with every person who tells it.
You see, the versions that have really stuck around, the ones we know best today, they mostly come from two Roman poets, Virgil and Ovid. They were writing decades apart, and while the big picture is the same, they don't actually agree on some of the most important details.
And this is so fascinating, right? Look at the differences here. For Virgil, Eurydice dies while she's running away from an attacker. It makes her death feel like this brutal, tragic twist of fate. In Orpheus's big mistake, Virgil calls it a sudden madness. But then you look at Ovid's version. She dies innocently, just dancing with her friends, and Orpheus looks back because he's scared for her. He's desperate to see her face. It's much more human. The point is, the myth was always changing.
And all of this brings us to that one unbreakable rule. That taboo, the don't look back command, is easily the most iconic part of the whole myth. And it turns out, it's way, way bigger than just this one Greek story.
I mean, this idea of not looking back, it's not just a Greek thing, not by a long shot. It's this incredibly powerful, universal theme that you find in stories all over the world. It really speaks to this deep human fear we have about the line between life and death, and what happens when you try to cross it.
Yeah, there's actually a name for this. Folklorists call it the Orpheus motif. It's a recognized story pattern that you can find in totally different cultures, but the core is always the same. A hero goes to the land of the dead to save someone and fails at the very last minute because they break a specific rule.
I mean, seriously, think about it. You see this everywhere. In Japanese mythology, the god Izanagi goes to the underworld to get his wife Izanami, but he looks at her too soon, fails. In the Old Testament, Lot's wife looks back at the city of Sodom and is turned into a pillar of salt. In some Native American legends, the trickster hero Coyote travels to the land of spirits for his wife, but loses her because he breaks the rule not to touch her. It's a fundamental part of human storytelling.
Okay, so we got all these different versions of the story, and we see how it connects to folklore from all around the globe. But there's a huge, gaping hole in all of these classical tellings. There's a silent partner in this tragedy.
Exactly. What about Eurydice? In pretty much every version of the myth, she's tragically, completely silent. She dies, she is the reason for the quest, she gets lost, but she never, not once, gets to say a single word for herself.
Think about it. She's just the prize, the motivation, an object. Her own thoughts, her feelings about being dead, about being rescued, about being lost again, totally ignored. It's Orpheus's story, Orpheus's tragedy. She's just part of the background.
And that was the case for thousands of years. Until the 20th century rolled around, and an American poet named Hilda Doolittle, who went by H.D., looked at this silent figure and decided it was finally time for Eurydice to tell her side of the story.
Now you have to remember the world HD was living in. This was the era of first-wave feminism. It wasn't just about fighting for the right to vote, it was about questioning the entire structure of society, challenging the idea that women should just be these passive, silent characters in stories written by and for men.
So HD writes this incredible, breathtaking poem simply called Eurydice, and it picks up at the exact moment the original myth ends, the second she's dragged back to the underworld. And from that darkness, she finally gives the silent heroine the first and the last word.
And here is the absolute game changer. HD's Eurydice isn't a sad, weeping victim who just fades away. No way. She is incandescent with rage. She is furious at Orpheus, furious at his arrogance, furious that he couldn't trust and that he stole her second chance at life away from her.
Listen to this. She calls him out directly. She refuses to be a footnote in his tragedy. She says her fate is his fault. It wasn't some sad accident, it was his arrogance and his ruthlessness that doomed her.
And then she does something incredible. She completely flips the script. She looks at the world of the living, Orpheus's world, and she rejects it. She says, you know what? Hell is no worse than your earth. This loss, it's no loss at all.
And this is where she finds her power. In the one place Orpheus only saw darkness and despair, she finds herself. She doesn't need his sunlight or his world. She has the flowers of myself, her own thoughts, her own spirit for light. She becomes her own source of power.
So in HD's hands, Eurydice transforms this supposed hell into her own kingdom of self-empowerment. She's not the prize to be won or the victim to be saved anymore. She is, finally, the hero of her own story. Her tragedy becomes her ultimate triumph.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? HD decided to look back at the myth and give Eurydice a voice. And it makes you wonder, how many other stories have these silent characters, just waiting in the shadows, whose voices should we try to hear next?